Welcome back to the talkSPORT Driving YouTube channel. I'm here following the London E-Prix with the CEO of Formula E, a man you've seen on this channel before, Mr. Jeff Dodds. Can you relax now that the season is all done and dusted, or does work for season 12? You're shaking your head already.
Well, so there's a moment of relaxing, John, because I think you have to recharge the batteries, no pun intended here, recharge the batteries a little bit. So I'll disappear for a little while with the family. We'll head over to Spain and have a bit of relaxing time there. But no, we're planning for season 12. So we're deep into planning for season 12, deep into planning for the Gen4 car, which will be launched at the end of season 12. No, the joy doesn't stop where I am, John.
I think relaxing and rest is important. And it brings me on to our new champion, Oliver Rowland.
Yeah.
Went and watched Oasis, which I think is a good way. It's a very, I don't know how to describe it. I think the perception of motorsports is these people all live in Monaco and they all party on yachts. And there are drivers that do that in Formula E, but Oliver Rowland is a little bit different. You know, he lives in the Middle East, but he's a very family-oriented man. He's from Yorkshire, and he went and did something that everyone else is doing in the country at this time. It must be good for you to have a champion that's a different champion to the one we've had previously in Pascal, and a different champion to maybe Jake Dennis the year before.
So look, I think in Formula E, John, we've had, in 10 seasons, we've had 9 different champions. So the only double champion is Jean-Eric Vergne, and they're all different. So when you look at them as individuals, you know, Jake defended his title as a champion differently to the way that Pascal has, and Ollie will do it differently again. They're very, very different characters. I love all of them. Ollie's story is very different, though, to others, as you know. So, you know, the boy from Barnsley didn't come from huge wealth. Battled his way through into elite motorsport, actually had a difficult time in Formula E, considered retiring from Formula E, and has kind of made the comeback of all comebacks, right? Like a phoenix from the flames to become a world champion. He was impeccable at the start of the year. Imperius looked completely unbeatable. But like all good sports, towards the end of the season, it got tougher and tougher and the competition got harder, and Ollie had a few wobbles. Yet he managed in that second race in Berlin to deliver the goods. So I wonder whether he'd be going to Oasis if he hadn't quite wrapped it up in Berlin.
I think he likes Oasis enough to say that he would have been, but I think he would have probably,
But can I tell you a little story? So after the first race in Berlin, if you remember, Ollie could have wrapped it up in the first race in Berlin, actually had a bad race. And I just wanted to go and spend time with him. So between the races. So on the Sunday before the race, I went and went into the Nissan garage when I found him in his little driver room and sat with him. And as I walked in, to kind of, not to give him a pep talk because he's an elite racing driver and Nissan do that beautifully, but I just wanted to offer a tiny bit of emotional support because I imagine he was going through a tough time. I walked in, he was watching MotoGP on his, and I'm a big MotoGP fan as well. He was watching MotoGP on his phone and we just sat there together kind of in silence, watching MotoGP together. And I think Ollie has a really lovely balance in his life. He knows what's important. Young family, he takes his racing incredibly seriously, but not too seriously. I think he'll bring a different style to being a world champion.
And he also supports young drivers.
Yeah, massively.
Actually, you can watch that on the talkSPORT Driving YouTube channel. Ollie chatting about Arvid Lindblad, who's obviously doing F2 at the moment, and rumours are he'll be doing F1 next year, which would be great for Ollie. I think he joked with me that he would probably earn more money from his career than he would his own career. But, you know, Oliver actually sort of supported Taylor Barnard, who's been a huge success story with his transition from karting in the UK to karting in Europe. So a very generous man. On Taylor Barnard, it must be great for you to see a young kid who came in and looked. And you look at any video on our YouTube channel of Taylor Barnard and people say, this kid looks 12, has he got a driving license? You see all the usual comments. For him to come in, make that jump from F2, where obviously drivers are really focused on F1, and fall in love with Formula E. He said biasly, obviously he's done quite well, but he said to me only last week that he thinks more F2 drivers should be seeing Formula E not as a stepping stone, but actually as a destination. That must be a really good thing for you and for the championship.
Yeah, little funny story. I took my 16-year-old. We went to to Silverstone, to the British Grand Prix. We went for quali day on Saturday. And as we were going in, Ollie was kind of hustling in the other direction. And I kind of bumped into him and went, oh, hey, mate, how are you? And he went, I can't stop. Arvin's just had a terrible race. I just need to go and give him a real grilling over it. So, you know, even this is a Formula E world champion, not quite crowned at that point. He's all over that. The development of drivers is something he takes incredibly seriously. With Taylor came through Ollie's karting series, so he developed him through a karting program, his karting team. And absolutely amazing to see Ollie crowned world champion. Taylor coming in his first year, 5 podiums this year, up to London race, 5 podiums. And an amazing talent that I think realised there's so few seats in Formula One and there's none other elite world racing championship there. And he made the step across like Zane Maloney did. And he's been unbelievable. And if I look now at the level of the Formula 2 drivers in the rookie test, these aren't just F2 drivers. They're F2 drivers that are competing to win Formula 2. So whether it's Kushmani or Gabriel Mini or Thierry Pourchaire, or you just mentioned Arvin,
Alex Dunn as well, of course.
These are drivers that are at the top of their game that are in the rookie test looking at Formula E as a viable option for the pinnacle of their career.
And we haven't seen the new car fully.
I have.
Well, yeah, Jeff's seen everything. Jeff's got everything probably on your phone. If I stole your phone and cracked your passcode, I could probably find everything. But from what we hear from, James Roster I caught up with. I know he's been testing the car. I think that's public knowledge that he's been testing the car, and he's really impressed by the car. The drivers that I've seen that have been privy to a bit more information are really excited by the car. And actually, the drivers, especially Dan Ticktum, has been saying to me that he thinks more F2 drivers are going to see this new car and want to come to Formula E. Can you just give us a sort of what you can tell us at this stage about the new car and the vision and how you think the new car will actually change the championship?
So I'm trying not to smile. I'm so excited about the new car. So I was there in Verano last week. We were testing, the FIA were testing, FIA and Spark were testing the car with James Roster. So James is the test driver. Funny enough, for James, when I was at Honda, probably in mid 2005 to 2008, I think that's the period was, James was actually the test driver for the Formula One team at Honda when I was there. So I know the quality of James as a test driver, the quality of feedback he gives. James says every time he gets out of that car, he's smiling. And he's driven everything, by the way. He's absolutely smiling. So what I can tell you is the car's a bit bigger. I think has much more track presence than the current car. So it's bigger, it's got more stature. Not unlike ourselves, John. It will still be accelerating 30% faster than a Formula One car. Has a much higher top speed. 350 kilowatts is max power in the current car. 600 kilowatts is max power in the
That's
in
incredible
the
to nearly double the power.
Yeah, over 800 brake horsepower, I think that equates to. This is a car where the lap times will tumble down. And I think the F2 drivers are likely to be looking at a car that can exceed the performance of the cars they're driving today, with lap times that are significantly lower than our current lap times around circuits like Monaco, which they love. So that's right. I think you'll find a lot of F2 drivers, when they see that car launched, will see what it can do, the close combat racing it delivers, much faster car. I think it'll be pretty exciting. And remember, John, if you want to drive in F4, F3, F2, that's a serious amount of money. You have to pay a serious amount of money to get a seat in F4, F3, F2, unless you're very, very, very lucky. Our drivers here in Formula E are paid. We pay them to drive. The teams here are picking the best drivers in the world they can pick, and they're paying them to drive. It's not like you have to come from a privileged, wealthy background where someone's going to pay millions and millions of dollars for you to get a seat. So I think the combination of an incredible car, a very fast-growing series, and the fact that they're going to get paid to get in a seat and haven't got to find the same financial backing, that's pretty compelling, right?
Yeah, it's hugely attractive. With this new car, I would imagine the tracks have to be reconsidered.
Not so much as you might think. So we've done some simulation on the current tracks we have. All bar one, all of the tracks we have in season 12 could be used by the Gen4 car.
With London being the one that probably couldn't?
London's tough, right? Yeah. Because the indoor-outdoor, you've got a very tight section as you come in and out. The car is bigger and more powerful, makes it much more complex. Some of the other built circuits we have, like Tokyo, the track can be modified and reconfigured to work just fine for the Gen4 car. And I was asked this question earlier today, and I love all of our tracks. I love all of our circuits. But I'm expecting the sweet spot to be some of those circuits that are, like a Jeddah or a Miami Hard Rock, where it's a road street style circuit, but built into a fixed facility. So you've got all the beautiful facilities, but you get more of a street style, traditional Formula E style layout of the circuit. But I think we're going to see amazing races in, Mexico, Sao Paulo, in Jeddah and Hard Rock in Miami. And obviously the UK will have to think about whether there's a track in London that's suitable, or whether we have to look at circuits in the UK or different cities in the UK. But we're right in the middle of that planning now.
Looking at next season, just briefly, we still have 2 TBCs on the calendar. Are you any closer to confirming those TBCs?
Well, so the confirmation process is not done by us, actually. It's done by the FIA.
Sure.
So it'll go to the Motorsport World Council. I think that's in October. And they'll be confirmed, or what's happening will be confirmed in October. We don't confirm it. We have 2 cities that we had been negotiating with across those 2. On one of those, the negotiations have finished.
Right.
So we're pretty confident that one of them locked. On the other one, they are nearing completion. So, hey, I've been around long enough to know until money's in the bank and ink's on paper, you don't assume it's done. But I feel pretty good about both.
I think anyone who's ever tried to buy a house would also agree with that. We look at, obviously, the new car, the future of Formula E. There's also been a big announcement from the FIA about the future of Formula E, which is very exciting. Can you just give us a bit of a detail for people who might have missed that?
Yeah, sure. So look, the agreement we have with the FIA is for us to exclusively race electric cars in a single-seater Formula car as an FIA championship. We're very proud of our relationship with the FIA, that we're one of 5 FIA World Motorsport Championships. And what we've announced over this weekend is that the agreement we have, the exclusive agreement we have, now extends out to up to as far as 2054. So I don't know about you, you might still be working.
Probably. I think we're all working older and older, aren't we?
I will be a cryogenically frozen head, I suspect, by the time we come to the end.
I think you're so fit, Jeff. I think
I'll still be a frozen head. That's a massive bit of news, right? Because I think, one, it's huge confidence from our investors that they want to extend their investment out and commit to the long-term future of this sport, way out into the future. I think it's a really important signal to the OEMs, the teams, the owners that invest in this championship, that they have a much longer runway for their investment to pay back. And I think for people like the FIA, it's a huge sign of confidence in what is, and I would say, the inevitability of the move towards electric vehicles. 15 million to 20 million electric vehicles will be sold this year. They think that will double to 30 to 35 million by 2030. So they recognise this tailwind of the importance of electrification.
I would imagine also with the new car, and then with the future being secure, it'll be a lot more, but not easier, because I'm sure nothing you and your team do is easy. But when it comes to attracting new manufacturers, and obviously we've talked before about Chinese manufacturers, other Japanese manufacturers or Korean manufacturers coming into the championship, that's all helping to show them what they can be involved in with this championship.
Yeah, first thing I would say, John, and your audience who are very educated will fact check me here, so apologies if it's not quite right. But I think IndyCar has 2 manufacturers.
Right.
I think NASCAR has 3 manufacturers, Formula One 4 manufacturers. As of today, we sit here with 6 manufacturers in Formula E. So we are very privileged that we already have more than all of those other single-seater series. Now, clearly we'd love more. We always want more. And I think we start from a very strong base. But I think you're right. Having a longer runway, a longer period of relationship guaranteed with the FIA should give more confidence to those OEMs.
Perfect.
Now, we'd love a Chinese OEM to join it, given the growth and the incredible growth. We'd love a US. We're very lucky that we have Andretti and Penske and Kiro, so we have US-based teams, Cupra Kiro. But, we'd love to have a US manufacturer as well. This gives us the time to cultivate those relationships, because eventually we run out of space for more manufacturers, because you also want independent teams on the grid. That's a nice problem to have, John.
Absolutely. 2 very quick fire questions before we end. From talkSPORT listeners, apologies, can't remember the names.
Great.
The first one is, we've really enjoyed bringing commentary of most of the races this season to talkSPORT 2's audience, and get some great feedback. The one bit that people say a lot about is the sound of the cars. Have we considered artificial sounds that we actually do see on some electric motor vehicles for the championship to make the sound of the cars change? Or are you proud of the futuristic, whirry, I can't remember what the words are that were used, but I'm trying to think of comments I've seen, but you know what I mean.
It's a great question, by the way. There's a lot to unpack in there. So if you'll indulge me to give a slightly longer answer than you might.
You can give as long as you like.
Right. So just a little bit of kind of the engineering answer first.
Love this.
So the internal combustion engine, which has been around for about 130 years, something like that, it's at the pinnacle. There's very little more development you can get out of an internal combustion engine. Formula One and other championships have kind of incrementalized that technology to within an inch of its life. In spite of that, a Formula One car, the pinnacle of internal combustion cars, probably runs at about, the internal combustion part, about 50% efficiency. So what that means is half of the energy created by the combustion process is lost into the atmosphere. It's wasted. It doesn't propel the car forwards.
Sure.
It's wasted. That's what you hear. So if you're listening to a really deep-throated kind of V10, V12, V8, you're hearing a lovely noise. I grew up with it. I love it. But you're hearing and listening to the sound of inefficiency. So a Formula E car will operate over 90% efficiency. What that means is there's very little energy lost. So therefore, there's not much to hear.
Yeah.
Right. What you hear is, and you've watched it on TV, you've commentated, you've been at the race live. Live, it's slightly different, the sound.
It is.
For me, sounds more like a fighter jet.
I think the thing that doesn't come across on radio so much, and we can't put microphones on the car wheels, is the tyres.
Yeah.
And actually, I think as motorsports fans, you love hearing screeching tyres. Yeah. There's plenty of that, especially here in London with this surface.
Yeah.
So
the way the tyre interacts with the road, it feels like a fighter jet or Tron. You get that sound. Now, having said all of that, and by the way, I have 2 teenage sons. The likelihood is in their life they'll probably only drive electric or hybrid cars, right? So they won't be used to the sound that I grew up with, potentially you grew up with. Saying all of that, of course we talk about the sound of the car. So we are testing different ways of enhancing the sound of the car. But enhancing is the key point. What I'm not interested in the society and the world of deep fake that we live in, John. I don't want to create an artificial deep fake sound for a car that is completely different on television or on radio, and then you turn up to a race and you go, hang on, that's not.
It's like watching someone play a tuba, but you hear a violin.
Exactly.
Why would you do that?
Why would you do it? On the other hand, to take the authentic sound of the car and see whether it can be amplified or enhanced in some way to create a more visceral experience, I'm open to looking at, and we're looking at it with several partners. But we're trying to find the balance. It's a very fine line.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And the final quick-fire question is, for people who have been to watch Formula E live, it's very exciting.
I hope this is a controversial question coming from talkSPORT. You always throw something controversial at me, and you haven't done.
Oh, well, I'll add a third controversial one. You can do a quick answer on this one. Support series. We nearly saw a support series before for the fans that come down to watch. The weekend. Is there any chance of a support series joining anytime soon, do you think?
So if you come down this weekend to London, as you know, you'd have seen great racing on track, incredible racing on track. You'd have seen an absolute kick-butt fan village here, incredible fan village, loads of exhibitions and displays. You'd have got to hear Pixie Lot, the Rizzle Kicks, loads of...
Bump into celebs, a lot of celebs.
Loads of celebs. I think, almost 100 talents, celebs, influencers kicking around the place. It's been amazing. So you get all of that. You also see what I think is the best qualifying setup in world motorsport. So you get to see the pools and the duels process in the qualifying. Saying all that, we'd also have a little bit more activity on the track because if you're coming here, you get to see free practice, you can watch the quali, you can watch the race, but there's still time and room to use that track a bit more. So as you know, with the Next Gen Cup, we got very close last year. A few things went against them. They couldn't quite launch. We're still talking to those guys, by the way, because we really like their vibe and what they got going on.
Okay.
We're also talking to some of our OEMs. If you remember, we used to have the Jaguar support series. Some of our OEMs are interested in doing a support series. And dare I say, John, without saying too much, but the Gen3 car is an incredible racing car. And in 12, 18 months' time, the Gen4 car will be on the track. Now, that means there's 22 Gen 3 Evo cars sitting around, that it would be nice to allow the teams to get some value out of those cars. And so we're looking at all of these parameters. I think there will be something that provides more entertainment on track coming probably around season 13, the start of Gen 4.
A nice tease. Controversial question for you. We've got to be very quick here because I think your time is very short. Is there a world where you can get Jeremy Clarkson into Formula E? Because Dan Ticktum told me this week that Jeremy Clarkson's basically his idol and that he wants to meet him and work with him and he wants to be the new Jeremy Clarkson with his own TV show. But I don't think Jeremy Clarkson likes electric mobility.
So I've known Jeremy for a long time. I was in automotive before, and actually he ran a business, an agency business in a former life that we worked with. So I've known Jeremy for a long time. In fact, I'll tell you a story off camera about a powerboat accident that involved me at one of Jeremy's events. Interesting story. Look, I think Jeremy is a car lover, right? He's an absolute car enthusiast. He's passionate about cars. I have to say, all of my interactions with him have been hysterical and great fun. I love being around him. I think he's got great energy. Dan loves being around him. But I think by his own admission, Jeremy isn't so interested in electrification or electric vehicles or the benefits of them. And I also think it's part of his persona and his character that for him to pivot on that would be unusual. I would love for him privately to come and see what the Gen 4 can do and maybe get in one and experience it and to have a fresh perspective on it. but I think the likelihood of us turning him into an ambassador for Formula E is slim. If anyone can do it, Tictum can do it.
Well, look, you love dropping challenges for me. I'm going to drop a challenge for you. We want to see Jeremy Clarkson and E-Prix in season 12.
All right, I'll see what I can do.
Okay, there we go. Jeff Dodds, CEO of Formula E. Loads about the future. It looks very, very bright for Formula E. And of course, you can listen back to all of the race highlights from this season on the On Track podcast feed. And of course, watch interviews with all the drivers here on the talkSPORT Driving YouTube channel.